Hey, for Sunday, June 14th, 2020, this is the Pro and the Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. As always, welcome to the show, folks. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Purpose of the show is to spend a few minutes talking about all of us being better citizens, and to do that, we have to talk to each other. Okay, so I'm talking at you, hoping that you'll listen. I'd be delighted if everyone out there wants to make some videos like this and talk about subjects that are important to them. I'd be delighted that you did that. Send me a link and I'll watch. Okay, happy to do it. Because the important thing is we need to take extra time these days to really talk to each other. Okay, to ferret out the truth, which is the factual truth, the who, the what, the where, and the when. And also be fully aware that the kind of information that comes at us very often has been tailored to us, to our preferences and stuff, so that they're trying to control us. There are people in this country, wealthy, powerful people, who are trying to control us by sending us specific information that they believe, and often are correct in their belief, that they will inflame some emotion and cause us to be kind of controlled in a certain tribe. And it's really, they're trying to keep the Hatfields and McCoys going in this country, and Democrats and Republicans primarily. Okay, conservatives, liberals, blah, blah, blah. All these, one-word labels, when none of us are that way. None of us. We're way, way, way more complex in our beliefs and our ideologies than that. We just allow ourselves to be encamped by these people who are, actually fairly skilled at figuring out how to push our buttons to keep us in a certain camp. And that, and to even not acknowledge that there are opposing views and everything. Even, I've mentioned this many times, even like eating a bowl of ice cream, which, on the surface for a kid would say there's no negative. There's no con. Well, but we as adults know there is, right? If we just ate ice cream all the time, well, we'd enjoy it, but we'd probably die after a year of eating, nothing but ice cream, because it's not good for you. Fundamentally, there's all kinds of vitamins and proteins and stuff that you're not going to get from ice cream, that you're going to need as a living human being to have health. So anyway, today's show actually wants to focus on that even more. It's called, I'm calling it Discourse. And what I want to say about it is this. If you look at how we do things these days, no one takes the time, we don't take the time as a society to step back and say, wait a second, let's go and get some common ground here. Let's get to a place where we all have the same understanding. And yes, pro and con, good and bad, for and against. So we're going to have to invite people that don't have the same opinion as we do, maybe don't want to do the same things as we do, because they are going to have perspectives and information that are vital and valuable to us in building this common ground, in building a common understanding of whatever the issue is, whether it's gun violence and gun control, or taxation and debt reduction, or abortion, or racism, or any of these issues. And I would argue any issue basically has pro and con, good and bad, for and against, and we need to have this common page, be on the same page, be on the same script, be on the same sheet of music. There's all these metaphors for it, right? We have to be in this, at least have the same kind of common ground, and then we can talk about, okay, here are the facts, pro and con, good and bad, for and against. And so what's different about what I'm suggesting? Well, today somebody somewhere, and so rather than like these bills that they're passing because we had the big economic shutdown from the coronavirus, and now there are these stimulus bills, okay, that are being proposed. Well, they're just being proposed. There's a handful of Democrats, a handful of Republicans, senators, House of Representatives, and they're just proposing these things. And they're not spending any time, basically, and it would take some days. Okay, so you have, public hearings, yes, C-SPAN, and if you want to do it right, you invite, regardless of what party you were in, you would invite various people from various experts in the area or whatever, and they would come and they would talk about, their the data that they've collected, their perspectives based on past experiences, whatever. They would present what they think the current situation is and why we're there and how we got there, and we would note that. And perhaps every day there would be some people would make like an executive summary. So, there was 7 hours of meetings today and several presentations, and this professor from Harvard said this, and this professor from Cal Berkeley said that, and this businessman, the CEO running Boeing, said this. And in the end, this is what it means. This is what we believe happened to the economy. This is where we think it's going to go. This is why we think it's going to go there. And then you have this common base, and then you would say, okay, now, given that those things appear to be true, plus minus, you're never going to have the absolutely perfect truth, but plus and minus, this is our belief, what is fairly accurate of the situation here. Again, pro and con, good and bad, for and against. And then you say, okay, now, here's different proposals for what we could do to try to fix this. And so you'd have another day or two of people talking about, well, here's all the issues that we think we're going to have or are having or will have, and here's proposals, different things that we could do. We could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that, okay? And what is believed the benefit of those different proposals. And you talk about that for a couple of days. And then you start trying to evaluate, okay, what are our goals? What do we want to do? Well, in the case of a stimulus package, we want it to be as effective as possible in stimulating the economy while minimizing how much debt the country takes on, because we have a huge national debt. And unfortunately, over several prosperous years, we weren't paying that national debt down. We kept growing it. But anyway, that's all, it's all hindsight at this point. But the reality is you can't just keep printing money. At some point, people are going to lose confidence in these little pieces of paper. They're going to say, well, that doesn't represent a certain amount of work by a doctor or a dentist or a truck driver or whatever. It's worthless. And then once people lose faith in that currency, look out. Okay, we can't allow that to happen. That means that those dollar bills that are out there, we can't just print them like crazy, because people will lose faith that it means anything, because they just suddenly show up and the true value of them, or how we're bartering using them, it gets all screwed up, and then we're in trouble because no one has faith anymore. So you have this national discourse. This is why I call this show the Discourse. So you need to have a national discourse, and yes, it's going to take some days, and yes, a lot of it's going to be boring. A lot of it's going to be boring. Sorry. Sorry. Part of our responsibility to each other is to spend some amount of time being adults and looking at information and doing our dead level best to understand it. And even if that information is boring, if it's vital to the, going forward with this nation, going forward as neighbors and friends and members of a community, we've got to do it. And then in the end, after this whole process, then we're going to say, okay, given, this is a situation we're in, here's the possible things that we could do, here's our goals, we want to, stimulate as much as we can, and, while still minimizing the national debt. So here's a proposal. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do this, this, and this. And then we go forward. We write some legislation and we go forward with that. And then we can say, like, okay, we're going to do this, and here's the time period over which we're going to do it. We're going to do that for a year. We're going to do that for 3 years. And then at the end of that period of time, we're going to reevaluate how effective whatever it is that we're proposing is. And then if it need be at that reevaluation point, we'll do something else, or maybe tweak it, or maybe it's perfect. Maybe it's just, this is working really good. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's not, mess with success, they say. So, if something's working great, then we say, okay, we'll review this again 4 years from now. And then if it's still working great 4 years from now, we'll review it again 8 years from now, and so on. And but all of it comes from a national discourse, not somebody saying, oh, I introduced this bill, I wrote the damn bill, I did this, I did that. No, we start with the fundamentals, we understand the situation, then we talk about proposals for addressing the things that we don't like and improving or amplifying the things that we do, and then we come up with a structure of, okay, here's what we think we ought to try first, and here it is, and this is the package, and then we go forward. A national discourse. So I'm Michael James Ott, again encouraging everybody, all of us, to be better citizens, to be involved. I've heard so many people say, I'm so tired of the arguing, I'm so tired of everything, I'm unplugged, and you can't be. You can't be. We need you. I need you. You need me. We need each other. You got to get in the game. And the game is being a good citizen, ferreting out the truth, spending a few hours. I'm not talking about 40 hours a week, a couple of hours a week, understanding things better, pro and con, good and bad, for and against, and working with the rest of us, me and the rest of your neighbors, to make laws that make sense to all of us. For the Pro and Con Show, my name is Michael James Ott. Thanks for watching. Until the next show, bye for now.